bones of the Kabali warrior shattered into splinters as Jesse's fist connected with its face, bits of exoskeleton exploding out the back of its elongated head. Jesse had been stationed on humanity's first extrasolar colony, a remote mining outpost called Xylos Alpha. The planet contained valuable ores needed for Earth's growing starship industry. But the native Kabali aliens didn't want to share. For months, they had been raiding mining sites and ambushing human patrols, stalling the colony's expansion. Jesse was on a routine perimeter sweep when his squad stumbled into a trap. A Kabali warband, led by their fiercest champion Thule, had been lying in wait to assault the main human complex. Jesse's men were cut down in a hail of plasma fire before they could even react. But not Jesse. His ballistic armor held against the aliens' weapons as he fearlessly charged forward to meet the enemy head-on. The Kabali had never faced a being like a human before. They watched in shock as Jesse, armed with only a rifle and combat knife, tore into their ranks with speed and ferocity they couldn't match. Plasma bolts pinged off his armor as he closed the distance in seconds. In close quarters, it was no contest. Jesse was simply stronger and faster than the aliens. He ripped into them with his bare hands, snapping limbs and caving in chests with every strike. The Kabali slashed at him with their monomolecular blades, but Jesse's reflexes were so fast he nimbly dodged each swipe. Their weapons shattered against his dense bones when they managed to connect. Thule let out a guttural war cry and barreled toward Jesse, believing his mass and muscle alone could overwhelm this upstart creature. He was wrong. Jesse sidestepped Thule's clumsy charge and delivered a barrage of precise strikes to the warlord's exoskeleton, splintering it like cheap plastic. Thule crashed to the ground, utterly broken. In minutes, the battle was over. A few dozen Kabali lay strewn about, dead or badly wounded. Jesse stood tall amidst the carnage, barely winded, his armor scorched but holding, not a scratch on him. It was a feat none of the other human soldiers had ever seen. One man had decimated an entire Kabali warband. When Jesse's incredible accomplishment was reported back to the colony, and then eventually to Earth, the reactions were ones of shock and grim satisfaction. The physically dominant humans clearly outclassed the Kabali in terms of raw biological potential. Maybe, if it came to war, humanity had the advantage. The Kabali, once dismissive of the upright apes squatting on their planet, now looked upon humans with fear and grudging respect. They would not forget how this human called Jesse Ward had single-handedly crushed their best warriors and humiliated their greatest champion. If humans could become even more powerful, the Kabali didn't stand a chance in an all-out war. But Thule, even as he lay in a pool of his own blood, broken and beaten, swore vengeance. He would find a way to defeat these human super soldiers, even if it meant turning to dark powers long forbidden by his people. This insult could not stand. The fragile peace between humans and Kabali on Xylos Alpha was shattered. Both sides began to prepare for the inevitable conflict to come, a war that would determine who would lay claim to the planet's riches. And Jesse Ward would find himself at the center, a reluctant hero or villain depending on which side you asked, the ultimate expression of human might pitted against a prideful alien race. The colony erupted in celebration as news of Jesse's triumph over the Kabali warband spread. Men and women cheered in the streets, chanting his name. Children reenacted the battle with toy soldiers and aliens. For the first time since landing on Xylos Alpha, the colonists felt a sense of hope and pride. They had a champion, a soldier whose prowess and bravery represented the best of humanity. Colonel Marcus Bragg strode through the command center, his boots clicking against the metal floor. He had seen many battles in his long career, but never had he witnessed a display of martial skill like that of Jesse Ward. The young soldier's actions had single-handedly turned the tide against the Kabali and bought the colony precious time. Bragg found Jesse in the armory, meticulously cleaning his weapon. The colonel cleared his throat. Jesse looked up and immediately snapped to attention. "At ease, soldier," Bragg said. "Hell of a thing you did out there. You saved a lot of lives." "Just doing my job, sir," Jesse replied, his voice steady. Bragg stepped closer, his gaze intense. "Son, I've been fighting longer than you've been alive. Trust me when I say, what you did was far beyond the call of duty. We need more men like you if we're going to hold this rock. Jesse met the colonel's eyes. What did you have in mind, sir? Bragg smiled. As of now, you've been promoted to lieutenant. I'm putting together a special unit, the best of the best. I want you to lead them. Jesse's eyes widened. I'm honored, sir, but are you sure? I'm just a grunt. Not anymore, Bragg said, clapping Jesse on the shoulder. You're the tip of the spear. Choose your men wisely. Train them hard. We're counting on you to keep our minds safe. Jesse nodded, his heart made. Yes, sir. I won't let you down. As Bragg left the armory, Jesse considered his new mission. He knew exactly who he wanted on his team, starting with his closest friend, Max Brick Brenner. The big man was built like a tank and had a heart to match. Together, they would forge a unit of super soldiers, warriors capable of taking the fight to the Kobali. Miles away, in a dark cavern lit by bioluminescent fungi, Thule seethed as his wounds were tended to by the clan's healers. The pain of his broken body paled in comparison to the sting of his defeat at the hands of the human soldier. Jesse Ward's face was seared into Thule's memory, a taunting reminder of his failure. I will have my revenge, Thule growled, his claws digging into the stone slab beneath him. The humans will pay for this insult. A hunched figure emerged from the shadows, draped in ragged robes. It was Dr. Zolak, the disgraced Kobali scientist. His eyes gleamed with a manic intensity. Mighty Thule, Zolak rasped, bowing low. I may have a solution to your problem. Thule turned his head, regarding the scientist warily. Speak quickly before I lose my patience. Zolak stepped forward, his voice trembling with excitement. In the Forbidden Zone, there lies a relic of the ancients, a device that could grant a Kobali warrior strength and speed to rival even the mightiest human. Thule pushed himself up, ignoring the searing pain in his muscles. Tell me more. As Zolak outlined his plan, Thule's despair gave way to a renewed sense of purpose. He would find this ancient technology and use it to crush the humans, starting with Jesse Ward. Whatever it takes, Thule would see the human colony burn. Back at the colony, Jesse and Brick led their newly formed squad in a punishing training regimen, pushing their bodies to the limits. They sparred for hours under the harsh alien sun, honing their skills and learning to fight as one. During a rare break, Brick approached Jesse, wiping sweat from his brow. You really think we can take on the Kobali? Jesse nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. We have to. The colonists are counting on us. We're their only hope. Suddenly, alarms blared across the compound. Jesse and his men raced to the command center where Colonel Bragg stood before a holographic display. We have incoming, Bragg said grimly. A massive Kobali force headed straight for the main mining complex. Jesse stepped forward, his face a mask of willpower. Sir, let us handle it. We'll stop them. Bragg met Jesse's gaze, weighing the young lieutenant's words. After a long moment, he nodded. Go give 'em hell, Ward. Show them what humans are made of. As Jesse and his squad raced toward the mining complex, they could see the Kobali horde in the distance, a writhing mass of claws and teeth. Jesse glanced at Brick, who grinned back at him. Just like old times, Brick said, hefting his massive rifle. Jesse returned the smile, feeling the thrill of battle coursing through his veins. Let's do this. The two forces clashed in a whirlwind of violence, the sound of gunfire and alien screeches filling the air. Jesse and Brick fought side by side, a whirlwind of fists and blades, cutting down Kobali warriors left and right. But the aliens kept coming, wave after wave of them pouring over the barricades. Jesse realized with a sinking feeling that they were being overwhelmed. He keyed his comlink, shouting over the din of battle. Colonel Bragg, we need reinforcements. We can't hold them. There was a crackle of static. Then Bragg's voice filled Jesse's ear. Negative, Lieutenant. All other units are engaged. You're on your own. Jesse cursed, ducking as a plasma bolt sizzled over his head. He turned to Brick, who was grappling with a massive Kobali warrior. Looks like it's just you and me, big guy, Jesse called out. Brick grunted, snapping the Kabali's neck with a sharp twist. Wouldn't have it any other way. The two soldiers fought with renewed ferocity, their strength and skill matched only by their perseverance. They held the line, even as their squad mates fell around them, buying precious time for the colonists to evacuate. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Kabali broke ranks and fled, leaving behind a field of corpses. Jesse and Brick stood amid the carnage, battered but unbroken. As the adrenaline faded, Jesse felt a sense of unease settle in his gut. The Kabali had never attacked with such numbers before. Something had changed. Miles away, deep in the heart of the Forbidden Zone, Thule and his elite warriors stood before the entrance to an ancient temple, long forgotten by time. Dr. Zolak scurried forward, his eyes wide with anticipation. "The device is within," Zolak whispered, his voice trembling with excitement. "The key to our victory." Thule grinned, his fangs glinting in the dim light. "Soon, the humans will learn the true power of the Kabali, and Jesse Ward will beg for mercy at my feet." The stage was set for a final confrontation, a battle that would determine the fate of Xylos Alpha. But little did Jesse and his fellow soldiers know, they were marching towards an enemy far more terrifying than they ever could have imagined. An enemy armed with the secrets of the ancients and a burning desire for vengeance. In the command center, Colonel Bragg stared at the holographic map of the Forbidden Zone, his brow furrowed with concern. The intel they had received was troubling, hinting at a game-changing technology that could shift the balance of power on the planet. Bragg turned to his second-in-command, Major Elena Torres. "We need eyes on the ground. If the Kabali are after something in the Forbidden Zone, we have to find it first." Torres nodded, her face grim. "I'll assemble a recon team. But sir, if the Kabali are massing for another attack, we may not have much time." Bragg sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know. That's why I'm sending in our best. Lieutenant Ward and his squad will lead the mission. If anyone can get the job done, it's them." As Jesse and his squad prepared for their new mission, the weight of responsibility settled on their shoulders. They knew the stakes, knew that the fate of the colony rested in their hands. But they were ready. They had trained for this, honed their skills and their purpose. They were humanity's champions, the best of the best. And as they set out into the unknown, towards a destiny that would test their strength and their courage, they carried with them the hopes and dreams of an entire world. The battle for Xylos Alpha had only just begun. Jesse Ward's boots crunched on the alien soil as he led his squad into the heart of the Forbidden Zone. The air shimmered with heat, distorting the horizon. Towering crystalline formations loomed overhead, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. "Eyes sharp," Jesse barked. "We don't know what we're walking into." Brick hefted his massive rifle, scanning the terrain. "Got movement, 3 o'clock. Some kind of predator." A serpentine creature slithered from behind a rock formation, its fangs dripping venom. Jesse moved with inhuman speed, closing the distance in seconds. He grabbed the beast by its throat, hurling it away with bone-crushing force. The squad pressed on, their enhanced bodies shrugging off the punishing conditions. They traversed treacherous canyons, leaping across impossible gaps. When they hit a pocket of intense radiation, their skin prickled and burned, but they pushed through. Miles away, Thule led his own force through the alien wasteland. The Kabali warlord's eyes burned with fanatical intensity as Dr. Zolak scurried beside him, clutching an ancient datapad. "We're close," Zolak wheezed. "The facility should be just ahead." As both groups converged on the alien complex, tension crackled in the air. Jesse's squad emerged from a narrow pass just as Thule's forces rounded a crystalline spire. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then all hell broke loose. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Thule roared, "Destroy them! Secure the facility!" Jesse's mind kicked into overdrive, assessing threats and issuing orders in microseconds. "Brick, left flank! Maria, suppressing fire!" The human soldiers moved like lightning, their enhanced reflexes and strength on full display. Jesse himself became a blur of motion, closing with the enemy before they could react. His fist connected with a Kobali warrior's face, pulverizing bone and sending the alien flying. Another tried to flank him, but Jesse spun, catching the attacker's arm and wrenching it from its socket. The battle raged on, neither side giving ground. Jesse lost track of his squad in the chaos, finding himself surrounded by Thula's elite guard. "The human stands alone," Thula snarled, brandishing a wicked blade. "End him!" Jesse's lips curled into a feral grin. "Come get some." What followed was a whirlwind of violence. Jesse's arms and legs became lethal weapons, shattering exoskeletons and pulverizing flesh. He caught a plasma bolt on his armor, the impact barely slowing him as he crushed an alien's skull with a single blow. Bodies piled up around him, but still they came. Jesse fought with cold, brutal efficiency, each movement precise and devastating. When the last of Thul's guard fell, only the warlord himself remained. Thul charged, his blade flashing. Jesse sidestepped, grabbing Thula's arm. With a sickening crunch, he snapped the limb like kindling. As Thul howled in agony, the ground began to shake. Cracks spider-webbed across the cavern walls, chunks of crystal raining down. "Shit," Jesse muttered. He dropped Thule, sprinting to find his scattered team. "Brick! Maria! We gotta move!" One by one, he located his soldiers, guiding them toward the exit as the alien complex imploded behind them. They emerged into the harsh Xylos alpha sunlight, battered but alive. As the dust settled, Jesse surveyed his weary team. They had struck a blow against the Kobali, but failed to secure whatever lay hidden in that ancient facility, and Thule still lived. The war for Xylos Alpha was not nearly finished, but humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. Jesse allowed himself a grim smile. Whatever came next, they would be ready. Colonel Bragg stood before the assembled troops, his face etched with grim purpose. "Operation Crimson Forge begins now. We end this threat once and for all." Jesse Ward felt a surge of adrenaline as he led his squad towards the looming Crimson Ridge Mountains. Massive mech walkers thundered beside them, their metal feet leaving deep imprints in the alien soil. The air thrummed with the sound of artillery, shells arcing overhead to slam into Kobali defenses. As they neared Thula's stronghold, a hail of plasma fire erupted from concealed positions. Jesse didn't break stride, the energy bolts glancing off his enhanced frame. He saw Brick take a direct hit to the chest, but the big man just grunted and kept moving. "Push forward!" Jesse shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. The super soldiers tore through the Kobali lines with minimal resistance. Jesse's fists became a blur, pulverizing alien skulls and shattering exoskeletons. A Kobali warrior lunged at him with a vibroblade, but Jesse caught the alien's arm and wrenched it clean off, using the severed limb to bludgeon 3 more attackers. As they fought their way deeper into the stronghold, Jesse spotted a heavily reinforced door. "That's gotta be Thul's inner sanctum," he growled. "Brick, breach it!" Brick grinned, hefting a massive demolition charge. The explosion rocked the entire complex, and Jesse burst through the smoke and debris. Inside, he found Thula and Dr. Zolak hunched over a half-assembled exoskeleton. The Kobali warlord's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed with hate. "Kill him!" Thula roared. Jesse didn't waste time with words. He moved like lightning, closing the distance before Thula's bodyguards could react. His enhanced muscles coiled and released, each blow shattering bone and rupturing organs. In seconds, the floor was littered with broken Kobali bodies. Thul snarled, strapping himself into the prototype exoskeleton. Servos whined as the alien lifted a massive plasma cannon, but Jesse was already moving. He ducked under the energy blast, feeling the heat sear his back, and slammed into Thul with bone-crushing force. Metal shrieked and buckled under Jesse's assault. He ripped away armor plating with his bare hands, exposing vulnerable flesh beneath. Thul howled in pain and fury, flailing wildly. But Jesse was relentless. With a final devastating punch, he caved in the Kobali's chest cavity, leaving Thule a broken, twitching mess. Dr. Zolak tried to scurry away, but Maria tackled him, binding the alien's spindly limbs with restraints. The battle for Xylos Alpha was won in a matter of weeks. Jesse stood impassively as the defeated Thule was brought before Colonel Bragg, the once mighty warlord now little more than a shattered husk. Bragg's voice was cold as he outlined humanity's plans for the planet. Thule, defiant to the last, spat blood and venom. "We will never submit to human rule. The Kobali will—" A slight nod from Bragg was all it took. Jesse's hand shot out, fingers wrapping around Thule's throat. He lifted the alien effortlessly, feeling the fragile bones crunch in his grip. Thule's eyes bulged as he struggled weakly, his life ebbing away. With a final sickening crunch, Jesse ended it. Thule's lifeless body hit the ground at Bragg's feet, a clear message to any who would oppose humanity's dominion. Word spread quickly of humanity's victory. Jesse Ward became a living legend, his name whispered in fear and awe across the stars. As human rule solidified on Xylos Alpha, the galaxy watched and waited, wondering what worlds these unstoppable super soldiers might claim next. The dust settled on Xylos Alpha. A world forever changed. Massive excavators tore into the alien soil, their incessant rumbling a constant reminder of humanity's iron grip. Colonel Bragg stood atop a ridge, surveying the sprawling mining complex below. His eyes narrowed as he watched convoy after convoy of precious ore snake its way towards the spaceport. "Production's up 300% this quarter, sir," Major Torres reported, her voice tinged with pride. Bragg nodded, his face impassive. "Good. Earth's shipyards are hungry. We can't afford any delays." As if on cue, an explosion rocked a distant section of the mine. Bragg's hand flew to his comm unit. "Report!" "Sabotage, sir," came the terse reply. "Third one this month." Bragg's face hardened. These attacks were becoming more than just a nuisance. He turned to Torres. "Get Ward and his team down there. I want answers." Jesse Ward crouched in the rubble of the ruined mining shaft, his enhanced senses picking up traces invisible to normal humans. The acrid stench of explosives lingered in the air, mixed with something alien. "Brick, what do you make of this?" Jesse held up a twisted piece of metal, its surface etched with strange symbols. The hulking soldier examined it closely. "Not Kobali tech, at least nothing we've seen before." A low rumble caught Jesse's attention. He held up a hand, silencing his team. "You hear that?" Without waiting for a response, Jesse smashed through the weakened tunnel wall. A hidden passage yawned before them, disappearing into inky blackness. "Well, well," Brick grinned, hefting his massive rifle. "Looks like we found ourselves a rabbit hole." The team descended, their augmented vision piercing the gloom. The tunnel wound deeper and deeper, branching off into a maze-like network. Strange markings covered the walls, pulsing with an eerie bioluminescence. "Holy shit," Maria whispered, her rifle sweeping the area. "This is way beyond anything the Kobali should be capable of." Jesse raised a hand, halting the squad. Up ahead, voices echoed, human voices filled with pain and fear. They crept forward, rounding a corner to find a sight that made even their hardened stomachs churn. Dozens of human miners hung suspended in grotesque biomechanical cocoons, tubes and wires snaking into their bodies. "What the hell is this?" Brick growled, his fingers tightening on his weapon. Before Jesse could respond, a piercing shriek split the air. From the shadows, a nightmarish figure lunged. It was Kobali, but hideously transformed. Cybernetic implants burst from its flesh, servos whining as it moved with impossible speed. Jesse's fist connected with the creature's face, pulverizing bone and circuitry alike. But where one fell, 3 more took its place. The air filled with the sound of gunfire and the agonized howls of the cyber alley. "Fall back," Jesse roared, laying down covering fire as his team retreated. They fought their way through the tunnels, each step a battle for survival. Jesse watched in horror as Maria fell, a Cyberali's serrated blade punching through her armor like it was tissue paper. Brick let out a bellow of rage, emptying his weapon into the surging horde. "There's too many!" Jesse grabbed his friend's shoulder. We need to find the source. Cut off the head of the snake. They pushed deeper into the complex, leaving a trail of broken cyber alley in their wake. But with each encounter, Jesse felt his strength ebbing. Even his enhanced body had limits. Finally, they burst into a vast chamber filled with pulsing machinery. At its center stood Dr. Zolak, encased in a towering exosuit that dwarfed even Jesse's impressive frame. "Ah, the mighty Jesse Ward," Zolak's voice dripped with contempt. "Come to witness the birth of a new era." Jesse lunged, his fist aimed at the exosuit's faceplate. The impact sent shockwaves through his arm, but Zolak didn't even flinch. "Is that all?" The mad scientist laughed. "Let me show you true power." What followed was a battle unlike any Jesse had ever faced. Zolak's exosuit shrugged off blows that would have shattered mountains. Each counterattack sent Jesse flying, his bones creaking under the strain. Brick fell next, crushed beneath the exosuit's massive foot. Jesse felt something snap inside him. With a primal roar, he threw himself at Zolak, heedless of the damage. Warning klaxons blared as the two titans grappled. Jesse could feel the exosuit's systems overloading, but he didn't let go. He would end this, at any expense. "You fool!" Zolak screamed. "You'll kill us both!" Jesse's lips curled into a savage grin. "So be it." The world exploded in white-hot fury. Jesse felt his flesh searing away, but still he held on. As consciousness faded, his last thought was of Earth and the future he had secured for his people. When Colonel Bragg arrived with reinforcements, all that remained was a smoking crater and the battered remnants of Jesse's squad. The legendary super soldier was gone, but his sacrifice had ended the Cyber Alley threat once and for all. In the days that followed, the last pockets of Kobali resistance crumbled. Xylos Alpha was firmly under human control, a testament to Jesse Ward's unyielding spirit. His name would be whispered in reverence for generations to come, a symbol of humanity's.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.